All rise. Circuit Court of Fairfax County is now in session. The Honorable Penny Askarani presiding. Please be seated.
Good morning. All right. Do we have any preliminary matters before the jury?
Just one exhibit to hand up.
Oh, perfect. Which exhibit?
1458, Your Honor.
1458.
And it's with signatures back.
All right. With redactions. All right. That's already been entered in evidence. We'll just take a copy of it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else?
We have the thumb drive with the
with
additional.
the night pictures on it for me, 92 and 93. Great. Thank you. All right. I'll take any evidence you have. Perfect. All right. Anything further? All right. We're ready for the jury. All right. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. You can have a seat. All right. Cross-examination.
Thank you, Your Honor. Morning, Mr. Depp.
Morning, Mr. Robinson.
Yes, 2 days ago, when you first took the stand, you discussed your upbringing and some of the abuse that you suffered at the hands of your mother. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do.
And you testified how she abused you physically, right?
Yes, sir.
Throwing things at you, hitting you.
Yeah, there was quite a, various forms of physical abuse.
And she abused you verbally by insulting you and your siblings, right?
Yes, she did.
And you testify that sometimes that verbal abuse, that emotional abuse was worse than the beatings, right? Do you remember that?
As a child, it has more of an opportunity to plant itself in your head.
Sure.
Yes.
So you'd agree that abuse can take many forms. It can be physical, can be verbal, can be emotional, right?
Indeed.
And you testified that your dad wasn't abusive, but that you saw him punch walls when he was in an argument with your mother sometimes, right?
Excuse me. I witnessed my father, the only reaction that would be called a physical reaction from the abuse he was very stoically taking from my mother. I saw him maybe twice, 3 times punch a wall. Once, as I said, once he punched the corner of the wall, and I watched his hand basically shatter.
Right. Mr. Depp, your walls weren't the only thing that your father punched, were they? In fact, once he punched you in the face and knocked you down, didn't he?
Yes, when I was 15 years old, this was this was just before I'd dropped out of high school. One morning, yes, in my mind, I was done with school, so he had asked me to, I believe it was something, it was very, he asked me to take the dog for a walk or something, or take out the garbage, something menial, something strange, and I just said, no. And he gave me he just gave me a quick shot, pretty hefty, and it rattled my head. It rattled the cage, you know, Tweety
Sure.
birds and stuff. Sure.
So the jury hadn't heard about that before. When he punched you in the face, it actually knocked you to the ground. And then when you got up, you were all too happy to take care of what he wanted you to take care of, right?
I was excited to take care of it.
Right. And yesterday, I believe that you testified, why would you hit someone to make them agree with you? It doesn't work. You gave that testimony yesterday, didn't you?
Yes.
Now, you try to conduct yourself as a gentleman, right?
Yes, sir.
And you think that you live up to the standards of a Southern gentleman, right?
That was essentially, you know, when you have deep, deep roots in the South, in Kentucky and such. It's not just your parents, your father, your mother, it's your grandparents, it's your uncles, it's your aunts, it's this, it's that. Yes, raised to be a Southern gentleman, that is to say, when chivalry was still alive and allowed.
Right. And you think you live up to the standards of a Southern gentleman, correct?
I believe I do. I certainly have done my best all my life.
Paul Bettany's a good friend that you've done drugs with, right?
That's a strange question. Paul Bettany is a good friend. Yes.
You've done drugs with him.
Yes, I have.
Cocaine, right?
Cocaine, yes.
Alcohol,
Alcohol, yes.
pills, including Xanax and Adderall, right?
That I'm not so sure of.
Okay.
Where's he gone?
Your Honor, may we approach?
All right.
I just wanted to discuss one thing with you,
Okay.
Ms. Myers.
Thank you.
Mr. Depp, you remember giving testimony in the trial in the UK, correct?
Yes.
And you gave that testimony under oath, right?
Yes.
You gave quite a bit of testimony in that trial, right?
I wouldn't be able to judge that myself. It felt like a lot.
Okay, well, let's take a look at some of it. If you can turn to page 45, please, in front of you. It's page 12 of the document. There's 4 transcript pages.
I see page 12 of the document, certainly.
Yes, sir.
Oops. Yes, sir.
And
12 of the document, you say?
yes, in the lower left corner, there's the page 45. Do you see that?
Yes, I do.
Okay. And you see that on the bottom of that page, there's a discussion of Paul Bettany and the things, drugs that you did together. And there was a question. The question is, any sort of pills? And your answer is yes. There could have been Xanax, or if he needed, if he asked for Xanax or Adderall, whatever, I would, of course, give it to him. Question, so you would supply Paul Bettany with whatever medication or controlled drugs he asked for. Is that right? Answer, if he was feeling anxious or if he was feeling unpleasant, I would give him what he asked for. Question, would you give him a Xanax? Answer, yes. Did I read that right?
You certainly did, yes, sir.
And you shared, the two of you shared an enjoyment of controlled drugs or alcohol at that time, right?
The two of us were making a film together.
With respect, sir, that wasn't my question. My question was the two of you shared an enjoyment of controlled drugs and alcohol at that time. Yes or no?
At times.
And Ms. Hurd was quite adamant that you didn't drink anymore and that you should stop using recreational drugs, right?
Oh, yes.
And she didn't like it when you were high on drugs or drunk on alcohol, right?
She didn't like it when it was her perception that I was high on drugs. Okay. Her perception is quite different than the truth.
And that's what we're after, is the truth. Let's turn to, can you pull up Exhibit 178, please, Michelle?
Is that defendant's 178 or?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, that's all right, I just want to make sure.
Oh.
Mr. Depp,
Objection, Your Honor.
All right.
Can we approach, please?
Okay, sure.
Mr. Depp, this is a text message exchange that you had with Paul Bettany on June 11th, 2013, correct?
Yes, correct.
Your Honor, permission to move for admission of redacted Defendant's Exhibit 178 and permission to publish, please.
We, based off of Your Honor's ruling,
All right.
that's fine.
178 with redactions.
Michelle, could you please blow up the first text at the top? In this text, Mr. Depp, you text Mr. Bettany, "Let's burn Amber," 3 exclamation points, right? You see that?
I do see that.
And at this time, June 11, 2013, Amber is your girlfriend or perhaps even your fiance at this point, correct?
Girlfriend,
Yeah.
for sure.
And you didn't stop when you said, "Let's burn Amber." Because the next text down, you can move down and blow up the next text, please, Michelle. You say, "Let's drown her before we burn her," 3 exclamation points. Did I read that right?
Yes, it's referring to the
you
text
didn't-
prior to.
You didn't
From Mr.
stop when
Bettany.
you said, "Let's drown her before we burn her." After that, you made another comment, and I'd like to apologize to the court and to the jury for some of the language that I'm going to have to use today, but unfortunately, you're going to see a lot of documents with language like this. After you said, "Let's drown her before we burn her," Mr. Depp, you said, "I will fuck her burnt corpse afterwards to make sure she is dead." That's what you said that you would do after you burned her and after you drowned her. Did I read that right?
You certainly did, yes.
And you wrote that about the woman who would later become your wife.
Yes, I did.
Can you pull up Exhibit 245, please? Your Honor, there's been no objection to this exhibit, and so I'd move for its admission and ask for permission to publish to the jury.
Give them a moment.
There's-
Your Honor, we have no objection to the portions that have Mr. Depp's text messages, but at the bottom portion, there is some from his daughter that we would ask be redacted.
The last two.
And Your Honor, that's okay, but there was no objection to this
I
on the
understand, but
exhibit list.
they don't appear to be relevant, which,
That's fine. We're happy to redact those.
okay. So 245 in evidence with the redactions.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
Thank you. Mr. Depp, the top text message, we're going to focus on a couple of these, but the top text message is a text from you to Paul Bettany on May 30th, 2014, correct? You might need to scroll over, Michelle.
May 30th, 2014, yes.
And you recall that you testified yesterday about the flight that you took from Boston to Los Angeles on May 24th, 2014, right?
Yes.
You remember that? Okay.
Yes.
And you testified yesterday that you didn't have any drinks before that flight, or maybe you had a glass of champagne or something. Remember giving that testimony?
Yes, I believe I said I had a glass of champagne on the plane.
Right. So in this text, if you could blow up, Michelle, please, that top text. On May 30th, '14, you texted